So, have you ever been in a car and hear a song coming through your speakers and instantly remember all the words? Do memories of another time or place, and usually this is the case, events, flood your brain? This happens to me all the time. If I'm on my way to work or even walking down the street, a song hits my ears and bam, I'm somewhere else. Remembering the good times or even the bad times. I've even had it happen to me when I've overheard music from another source, like a grocery store. Actually, this seems to happen a lot in grocery stores. But that's what this channel is about, my musical memories. Things that flood my head when hearing that song. And this week, the song, well, it's more of an album, is Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds. I know, usually these stories are about one specific song, but this is a set of records. Yes, I have memory of there being two records, and they're so intertwined with each other, it's hard to pick only one exact track, because the whole thing tells a story. When I hear this, I am immediately transported to the living room of my parents' house. I was pretty young when I started pulling random records out of my mother's large bookshelf, a bookshelf that was full of records. My mom, for as long as I can remember, had a huge music collection, mostly actually completely records. Shelves and shelves of 33 and a third records just waiting to be listened to. That was the only way I got introduced to music that was really huge before my time. It was from that collection that I got exposed to bands like the Beatles, Aerosmith, Boston, and Queen. She would sometimes explain the album cover to me. I recall her showing me the cover to the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and spending time showing me the apparent symbolism of the costumes. When I think back to it, I'm pretty sure she never believed that Paul was dead. I remember listening to Someone to Love, that Queen hit, for the first time, and watching my mom sway to the music. My mom was a big fan of Freddie Mercury and Queen, and I think she had all the records they ever released. That and all the Beatles, too. I've gone through all the musical changes in the Beatles' career by simply listening to all the records that my mom seemed to have. I'm still a big Queen fan to this day. Just ask my cat, Freddie. Now, I wasn't forced to sit in the living room floor and listen to these bands. No. My mom would just want to listen to music, and she would play the stuff she wanted to hear. It just so happened that my mom had some pretty great musical tastes. And every so often I would pull out a record and randomly my mom would play it. No questions asked. One of the first albums I pulled out had an epic cover. It was very gray and alien feeling. There was a giant metallic spider shooting fiery lasers. It was awesome. That single piece of art probably got me really hooked into science fiction. It was this cover. It had the promise of excitement and scariness, and the unknown that would eventually lead me down the rabbit hole full of V, the TV series. God, how I love that show. That rat eating scene in the 80s, oh, it was just perfect. The Silverhawks animated show, oh, that opening song, that is definitely another video coming. And even Star Wars. I had seen the TV repeats of the original Star Trek TV show, of course. It was always repeated several times a day on several TV stations. But honestly, I don't remember being overly excited to sit down and watch it. Later on in my life, though, I was terribly excited to watch the Star Trek Next Generation. I watched it religiously, well, until they kept Worf alive. Now look, I like the Worf character as much as the next guy. And I had already seen Star Trek kill Tasha Yar, the first Star Trek security officer of the Enterprise, well, of the Next Generation Enterprise. And then some. During the scenes, I don't remember exactly what happened, but I was so arranged that I probably blocked the details. They dealt with what seemed to be a fatal blow to Worf, and he was in the medical bay. Dr. Crusher and others were frantically trying to save him. Over time, everyone seemed to give up, and I had to come to grips that they were going to do it again. They were going to kill a major character in one of the most popular science fiction shows on TV. Again. But then, in the last few minutes of the show, they revealed that Worf would be okay. His second heart had saved his life. Wait, what? I couldn't believe it. A mysterious heart just happened to save him? The tricorders couldn't see that? Was Dr. Crusher not paying attention during the biology part of getting to know all the alien physiological world in the universe? It was an insultingly dumb conclusion, and I never watched the show as it aired again. I was so mad. When I listened to the records, The War of Worlds was actually the first two-album set I'd ever seen. I was spellbound. It had Richard Burton, a world-famous actor who I would see later in Hamlet in high school, providing narration, while the grandiose music started to play. It was telling me a story. I'd never really heard that before. Music telling me a complete alien invasion story. Usually songs were about love, or revenge, or really just kind of quick, emotional things. This was a story. The synthesizer and the sweeping violins went so well together that I listened to it for weeks on end. The story dealt with serious topics too. The fear of not knowing what was lumbering towards you, the hope for the government to save you, and the feeling of loss as your friends were dying. It had it all. But my time with Jeff Wayne and the records was relatively short, as my life at home started to take strange turns after that. And I didn't really rediscover it until I was building up my own music collection, digitally. I'll never have enough room in my house for the record size needed to cover all of my musical tastes. So I added it to my collection and gave it a good listen and smiled, like I am now. See, I listen to the pieces of music while I'm writing their stories. It helps spark the memories. Still later in life, I showed the music to my daughter, and she listened and rolled her eyes a bit. But, while I was looking for a music video or something for her to watch while she was hearing the music, I stumbled over something spectacular, something very surprising. And turned out that A, they had re-released the music as a musical that actually played in theaters, and that Liam Neeson was playing the part of Richard Burton. And that's when Liz got really excited, as she was a fan of his Taken movies. I guess they got Mr. Neeson because of his popularity with the younger generation. And that and the fact that, Richard Burton had died in 1984. But it had worked. She watched the entire video. She watched the entire musical. I was pretty happy that I was able to share something so instrumental in my life with my daughter. I know it did not have the same long-term effect on her as it did me, but we got to watch it together, and that was great. Now, I still prefer the Richard Burton version, probably because his version was the first I'd ever heard and fell in love with. That, and when I hear Liam Neeson's voice, I can only hear I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. If you're looking for ransom, I can tell you I don't have any money, but what I do have are a very particular set of skills. I hope you enjoyed my warp drive through Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds. If you are, definitely give this a listen. Very, very pleasantly surprised. And if you were annoyed by a very bad loophole in a Star Trek episode, please let me know in the comments below. And for the record, I still do very much enjoy the Star Trek universe. Even The Next Generation. I just don't watch that stupid episode. Oh, and the second season of Picard? I don't know what the hell is going on there, so I'm not a fan. But remember, as always, please like, comment, and subscribe.